That is a cute little catering setup you have got there. Sis. August's voice boomed across the linen-covered tables of Chicago's Le Ciel restaurant. Just make sure the shrimp do not get cold while you are daydreaming about being in the big leagues. His laughter was a sharp sound. Designed to carry. Designed to humiliate. Around us. The city's elite donors. Investors. The board members of Obsidian Hospitality paused their conversations, their eyes flickering with polite amusement. My mother, Catherine, did not flinch. She just patted my hand, her rings clicking against the crystal glass. Oh, August. Be nice, she said, her tone dripping with the kind of condescension that pretends to be affection. Sloane tries her best. Not everyone can be a vice president. I sat there, my hands folded in my lap, looking at the two people who defined my world. My brother, preening in his tailored suit, celebrating his massive new promotion. My mother, beaming with the pride she only reserved for him. They saw a quiet, struggling caterer who needed their pity. They did not see the woman who had personally designed the menu they were eating. They did not see the woman who had approved the interior design of this very room. And they certainly did not see the woman who signed the paycheck August was bragging about. I took a sip of my water, the ice clinking softly. The cold glass grounded me. Congratulations, August, I said, my voice steady. Vice President. That is a lot of responsibility. Huge responsibility. He grinned, swirling his scotch. But someone has to carry the family legacy. Right, since you are busy making finger sandwiches. I smiled. It was a small, tight thing. A lock, clicking into place. Before I tell you how I wiped that smirk off his face forever. Drop a comment, and let me know where you are listening from, and what time it is for you right now. I would love to know who is part of our community. This dynamic was not new. It was the architecture of my life. For 30 years, August had been the sun, and I had been the shadow he cast. Growing up, if August got an A, we had a party. If I got an A, it was expected. If August broke a window, he was spirited. If I dropped a plate, I was clumsy. He was the golden child. I was the invisible daughter. And for a long time, I believed it. I believed I was the supporting character in his story. But 10 years ago, I stopped believing. I stopped waiting for permission to exist. I moved out, cut my hair, and started cleaning floors in a rundown motel on the edge of the city. I learned the hospitality business from the ground up. I learned that luxury is not about gold leaf. It is about anticipation. It is about knowing what someone needs before they even ask. And while my family thought I was finding myself or struggling, I was building. I bought that motel. Then I bought the building next door. Then I bought a failing historic hotel downtown and turned it into the jewel of the city. Obsidian Hospitality was not just a company. It was my empire. 15 luxury properties across the country. 3 Michelin star restaurants. A valuation of $150 million. And nobody knew. I kept my name off everything. I signed documents as S. Mercer. Holdings. I used lawyers. Proxies. And a registered agent. Why? Because I knew my family. I knew that if they saw my success, they would not celebrate it. They would consume it. They would see it as a resource to be mined. A way to fund August's next failed venture, or Catherine's social climbing. So I stayed invisible. I let them think I was a freelance caterer. It was safer. Hiring August was the only time I broke my rule. 6 months ago, Catherine had called me, sobbing. He is going to lose the condo. Sloane. She had wailed. He has been laid off again. It is not his fault. The market is terrible. You have to help him. You know people in the industry. Just get him an interview. Please. If you do not, the stress will kill your father. The trap of normalized cruelty. That is what it was. I was not helping him because I loved him. I was helping him because I had been conditioned to believe that my only value was in fixing their messes. That if I did not set myself on fire to keep them warm, I was selfish. So I made a call. I told my director of operations, Thomas, to interview him. Give him a fair shot. I had said, but do not tell him it came from me. August got the job. Vice President of Corporate Events. A salary of $250,000. And from the moment he stepped into the office, he acted like he owned the place. He did not know the anonymous owner he complained about in emails was the sister he mocked at dinner. But sitting there that night, watching him dismiss me while spending my money, something shifted. The patience I had cultivated for a decade evaporated. It was not anger. Anger is hot. It burns out. This was cold. This was clarity. The waiter arrived to clear the plates. He looked at me. A flicker of recognition in his eyes. He knew who I was. He knew I was the one who approved the wine list. I gave him a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of my head. Not yet. So, Catherine said, turning her attention back to me, her voice dropping to that concerned mother register. August tells me he is going to have a lot of influence now. Maybe he can help you. Sloan, get you some real contracts. Wouldn't that be nice? Ideally? August laughed, though I do not know if Obsidian is ready for Sloan's rustic aesthetic. We are a luxury brand. Mom, high standards. I understand, I said quietly. Standards are important. Exactly. August nodded, pouring himself more wine. You have to protect the brand. That is what I keep telling the team. The previous leadership was weak, stagnant. I am going to shake things up. Is that so? I asked. Oh yeah. The owner, whoever he is clearly asleep at the wheel. Absentee landlord type. I am going to run this place properly. I looked at him. I looked at the arrogance that sat on him like a cheap suit. He was not just ungrateful. He was dangerous. He was not just a brother teasing a sister. He was an employee openly disrespecting his employer. And suddenly, the invisible chain snapped. The chain that bound me to their approval. To their version of reality. I realized I did not need to scream. I did not need to flip the table. I held all the cards. I held the deck. I owned the casino. Well, I said, picking up my purse, I look forward to seeing what you do. August. Really? Do not worry. He winked. You will be hearing about me. I am sure I will. I stood up. Catherine frowned. Leaving so soon, we haven't even ordered dessert. I have work to do. I said. Inventory. Numbers. You know how it is. Small business stuff. August snorted. Grind. Never stops. Huh. Good for you. Sis. Keep hustling. I walked out of the restaurant. The heavy oak doors closing behind me with a solid, satisfying thud. The night air was cool on my face. I pulled out my phone and dialed Violet. My COO. Violet, I said, when she answered. I need full access to the server logs for the corporate events division. And pull the expense reports for the last 3 months. Sloan. Is everything okay? No, I said, looking back at the glowing windows of the restaurant where my family was celebrating my brother's success on my dime. But it is about to be. I did not go home. I went to the office. The real office. The penthouse suite of the Obsidian Tower that nobody knew belonged to me. I sat in the dark. The city lights reflecting off the glass desk. And I waited. I wasn't the caterer anymore. I was the architect. And I was about to inspect the foundation. The week following the dinner was not silent. It was a cacophony of entitlement. I sat in my home office, not the corner of my living room, where I pretended to balance catering books, but the command center in my penthouse where I monitored the pulse of 15 hotels. On my screens, occupancy rates were holding steady at 92%. Revenue per available room was up. But my phone, sitting face up on the mahogany desk, told a different story. It buzzed. Catherine. Sloan. She didn't say hello. She just launched. August is hosting a mixer next Friday. For the senior staff, it is crucial for his image. He needs to look like he is generous. Like he is a leader. That sounds nice, I said, typing a command to authorize a renovation budget for the Miami property. He should hire a good caterer. Do not be difficult. He wants you. Well, he wants your food. He thinks it would be a nice touch if his sister supported him. Plus, his budget is tight until his first bonus checks clear. You can write it off. Cannot you? It is just appetizers. It was not a request. It was a levy. A tax on my existence. I am booked. Mom. I lied. Inventory. Numbers. You are selfish, she snapped. He is under so much pressure carrying this family's legacy. And you cannot even make a few tartlets. You should be grateful he is even letting you near his professional circle. I hung up. I did not feel guilty. Guilt is for people who owe something. I owed them nothing. 2 hours later, a text from August lit up the screen. Need $5,000. Transfer it. Suit fitting tomorrow. Cannot look like a peasant in front of these people. Also, this place is a mess. The culture is stagnant. No vision. I am going to have to fire half the team just to get some energy in here. You should be glad you work for yourself. Sis. Real business is a Shark Tank. I stared at the message. Stagnant. The culture he called stagnant was one I had cultivated for a decade. It was built on respect, precision, and quiet excellence. He did not see stability. He saw a lack of drama. And to a narcissist, a lack of drama feels like death. I did not reply. I just forwarded the screenshot to a secure folder labeled Evidence. Then, the real notification came. It was not a text or a call. It was a ping from my private, encrypted server, a channel only 3 people had access to. Sender Nora. Subject urgent. Red flag. Nora was my eyes on the ground. I had hired her as an event coordinator 3 years ago because she noticed things other people missed. She was loyal to the brand. Not the title. I opened the file. It was not a complaint about August's attitude. It was a ledger. Sloan. The attached note read, I know you said to give him a chance. But look at the bookings for the grand ballroom. He is canceling them. I clicked through the attachments. 3 high-profile weddings, including the $50,000 contract for the mayor's daughter, cancelled in the Obsidian system. But then, Nora had attached a second document, an invoice from a company called Apex Events. Apex Events was registered to August Mercer. He was not just cancelling the bookings. He was diverting them. He was telling clients that Obsidian was fully booked or under renovation, and then generously referring them to his own private planning firm. He was stealing my clients, using my venue's reputation to bait them, and then funneling the revenue into his own pocket while billing the consultation hours to Obsidian. I sat back, the cool leather of my chair pressing against my spine. My brother was not just a bully. He was not just an arrogant golden child who treated me like a servant. He was a thief. The indignation that had simmered since dinner turned into something solid, something cold and heavy, like a gavel resting in a judge's hand. He thought he was playing a game of status. He did not realize he had just committed corporate espionage against the person who owned the building he was standing in. I picked up my phone. I did not call my mother. I did not call August. I dialed Violet. Clear my schedule for tomorrow morning. I said, I am coming in. I arrived at the Obsidian Tower at 4 in the morning. The lobby was silent. A cavern of marble and shadow. The night security guard, a man named Elias, who had worked for me since the motel days, nodded as I walked past. He did not ask why I was there. He knew the look on my face. It was the same look I had had the night I bought this building out from under a bankruptcy court. I took the private elevator to the penthouse. The doors slid open, and I stepped into the nerve center of my life. Audit mode. I whispered to the empty room. I sat at my desk and bypassed the standard executive dashboard. I logged directly into the raw server data, using an admin key that only I possessed. The screens flickered to life, cascading lines of code and communication logs. I started with the financial trails Nora had flagged. It was clumsy work. August had not even bothered to hide the IP addresses. He was diverting inquiries for our premium diamond package weddings, starting at $50,000 and funneling them to his personal Gmail account. Obsidian is currently undergoing structural maintenance. His template email read, however, our VP, August Mercer, can accommodate you personally through his boutique firm, Apex Events. He was cannibalizing my company to feed his ego, but as I dug deeper, cross-referencing his emails with the internal communications of the leadership team, I found something that made the theft look like petty shoplifting. It was a thread marked Project Eclipse. It was between August and Thomas, the director of operations, the man I had trusted to interview my brother, the man who was supposed to be the gatekeeper. I opened the first email. She is a ghost. Thomas. August had written, this Mercer owner never shows her face. The board is getting restless. If we can prove negligence, show that the owner is absent during a crisis, we can force a vote of no confidence. We can force a sale. I scrolled down, my eyes scanning the betrayal. I will doctor the maintenance logs for the HVAC system. Thomas had replied, we will manufacture a crisis, a safety violation, something big enough to scare the investors. When the owner doesn't show up to fix it, you step in, the hero VP. You save the day. The board will hand you the keys. They were not just stealing clients. They were plotting a coup. They were manufacturing a disaster to frame me for negligence, aiming to seize control of the empire I had built with my own hands. August wanted to be CEO. He wanted the throne, and he was willing to burn down the castle to get it. I leaned back, the glow of the monitors illuminating the office. For a moment, I did not feel anger. I felt a strange, detached pity. It was a fascinating study in delusion. I thought about the concept of power. August walked around with his vice president title like it was a crown. He ordered people around, demanded respect, and spent money he did not have on suits he could not afford. He believed that the appearance of power was the same thing as power itself. He was suffering from the illusion of the empty wallet. He did not understand the difference between having a position and being the owner. He thought power was something you wore, something you could rent or steal. He did not realize that true power is not loud. It is not flashy. True power is equity. True power is the deed in the safe. True power is the ability to turn off the lights because you pay the electric bill. He was playing a game of checkers with rented pieces. I owned the board. I looked at the emails again. The hero VP. That was what he wanted. He wanted the glory. He wanted to be the savior of Obsidian without ever having laid a single brick. He had mistaken my silence for absence. He had mistaken my delegation for weakness. I saved the entire thread to a secure drive. I exported the financial logs, the altered maintenance reports, and the client diversion emails. I compiled it all into a single, devastating file. Then I checked the time. 6:30 in the morning. The sun was just beginning to bleed gray light over Lake Michigan. The city was waking up. In a few hours, the employees would start filing in. August would stroll in around 10, hungover from his suit fitting, feeling invincible. I picked up the office phone and dialed Violet. "It is worse than we thought," I said when she picked up. "It is a hostile takeover attempt. Internal." I heard her intake of breath. "Who?" "Thomas. And August." "Jesus. Sloan. What do you want to do? Legal?" "Eventually," I said, my voice cold. "But first, I want them in a room. Call an emergency leadership meeting for 9 a.m. Mandatory attendance. Tell them the owner is sending a proxy to address the structural maintenance rumors." "A proxy?" Violet asked. "Yes." I stood up, walking to the window to look down at the city I had conquered, while my family was busy underestimating me. "Tell them, S. Mercer has finally sent someone to clean house." "And, Sloan." "Yes. What are you going to wear?" I looked at my reflection in the glass. The tired caterer was gone. "The suit," I said. "The black one." At 8:45 in the morning, I walked into the Obsidian headquarters. I was not wearing my usual jeans and sweater. I was wearing the black suit tailored, sharp, uncompromising. My hair was pulled back. My heels clicked against the marble floor with a rhythm that sounded like a countdown. Violet met me at the elevator. She looked nervous, clutching a tablet like a shield. "Everyone is in the boardroom," she said quietly. "Thomas is looking smug. August is. Well, August. He has already ordered coffee for everyone on the company card." "Good," I said. "Lock the doors once I am inside." I did not stop at my office. I walked straight to the double doors of the executive boardroom. Inside, the chatter was loud. August was leaning back in the leather chair at the head of the table, my chair spinning a pen. Thomas was next to him, whispering something that made them both chuckle. The rest of the leadership team looked confused, checking their watches, wondering who this proxy was. I pushed the doors open. The room went silent. Not the polite silence of a library, but the heavy, airless silence of a sudden drop in pressure. August looked up, a smirk already forming, ready to make a joke about the caterer getting lost. Then he saw the suit. He saw the way I walked. He saw the eyes of every other executive turn to me. Not with pity, but with deference. "Sloan," he asked, his voice cracking slightly. "What are you doing here? Did Mom send you with sandwiches?" I did not answer. I walked to the head of the table. "Get out of my chair," I said. It was not a shout. It was a command. August blinked, looking around for support. "Excuse me, Sloan. This is a leadership meeting. You cannot just," I said. "Get out." Thomas stood up, his face reddening. "Miss Mercer, I do not know who let you in, but security will remove you if you do not leave immediately. This is for authorized personnel only." "Authorized personnel," I repeated, finally looking at him. Like the people plotting to sabotage the HVAC system to force a sale, or the people diverting company assets to a shell corporation. Thomas froze. The color drained from his face so fast, it looked painful. "Violet," I said, without looking away. "Project the file." on the massive screen behind me. The room dimmed as the evidence appeared. The email thread, Project Eclipse, the invoices from Apex events, the altered maintenance logs. It was all there. Magnified, in 4K, resolution. A gasp rippled through the room. The other executives were staring at the screen. Then at Thomas. Then at August. This is... August stammered, standing up but shrinking at the same time. This is a misunderstanding. It is just business. Sis. We were brainstorming. It is hypothetical. Hypothetical theft, I asked, pointing to the transfer logs, showing $50,000 moved to his private account. Hypothetical corporate espionage. I turned to the room. My name is Sloan Mercer. I am the sole owner and founder of Obsidian Hospitality. For 10 years. I have signed your paychecks. I have approved your budgets. And I have watched you work. I looked at August. He was trembling now. The arrogance, stripping away like cheap paint. Revealing the small, frightened child underneath. You wanted the owner's attention. August, you have it. I slid a folder across the table toward Thomas. You are fired. For cause. Legal has already been notified of your intent to commit fraud. You have 5 minutes to clear your desk before security escorts you out. Thomas did not argue. He grabbed the folder and ran. Then I turned to my brother. And you, I said. You wanted to be the hero. You wanted to save the company. Sloan. Please, he whispered, looking at the door as if hoping our mother would burst in and save him. I did not know. I swear. I thought I was helping. You were stealing. You were cannibalizing my life's work to buy suits you cannot afford and impress people who do not care about you. I dropped a second envelope in front of him. This is a formal notice of termination. It is also a restraining order, preventing you from contacting any Obsidian clients or employees. And this, I pointed to the last page, is a bill for the $50,000 you diverted. You have 30 days to repay it before I file criminal charges. Criminal charges, he choked out. I am your brother. No, I said, my voice devoid of any warmth. In this room, you are a liability, and I am removing you. Get out. He looked at me one last time. He did not see the sister who cooked his meals. He did not see the failed caterer. He saw the CEO. He saw the person who held his fate in her hands. And he saw that she had finally closed her fist. He turned and walked out. The silence, swallowing his footsteps. I looked around the room at the remaining team. They were pale, wide-eyed. Now, I said, sitting down in my chair, let's talk about the renovation budget for Miami. The fallout was not a storm. It was a siren. My phone started ringing before I even left the building. Catherine. I stared at the screen, watching the name flash like a warning light. For 30 years, that name had summoned me to fix things, to smooth things over, to absorb the impact, so August did not have to. For 30 years. I had answered because I thought it was my duty. I let it go to voicemail. Then I blocked the number. It was a small action, a tap of a finger, but it felt like demolishing a wall. I blocked August next. Then Thomas. Then I called my assistant and ordered a full security sweep of my penthouse and a change of locks at my private residence. I was not just closing a door. I was sealing the vault. I went home. Poured a glass of wine, a vintage I actually liked. Not the cheap stuff I pretended to drink, to make August feel sophisticated, and sat on my balcony. The city hummed below me. A grid of lights and movement. I listened to the voicemail later. Just once. For the record. Sloan Catherine's voice was ragged, pitched high with hysteria. What have you done? August is outside. He says you fired him. He says you threatened him with jail. How could you? He is your brother. You have ruined this family. You have destroyed his future. Fix this. Sloan, fix this right now, or so help me God. The recording cut off. She did not ask if what he did was true. She did not ask if he had stolen from me. She did not ask if her daughter had been betrayed. She only cared that the golden child had been tarnished. I deleted the message. I did not feel the old pang of guilt. I did not feel the urge to explain myself. I realized then that my relationship with my family had not been a bond. It had been a hostage situation. And I had just negotiated my own release. 6 months later, Obsidian Hospitality looked different. The marble floors were the same. The chandeliers still sparkled. But the air was lighter. The fear was gone. Nora sat in the office that used to belong to Thomas. The door was open, a new policy she had insisted on. She was the director of operations now. And she ran the department with a terrifying efficiency that made me smile every time I saw her reports. The integrity protocol we had installed meant every expense, every contract, every vendor was triple-checked. Theft was not just difficult, it was impossible. I walked through the lobby of our flagship hotel. The staff did not look through me anymore. They nodded. They smiled. They stopped to ask about the new expansion plans. I was not the invisible caterer. I was Sloan Mercer, CEO. I had given my first public interview last week. My face was on the cover of Hospitality Weekly. The headline read, "The Architect Out of the Shadows." I had not heard from August. The legal notice had done its job. He had repaid the $50,000 borrowed. I assumed. From a mother who was likely leveraging her own retirement to save him yet again. I heard through the grapevine that he was working sales for a mid-tier logistics firm in Ohio. No title. No expense account. Just a cubicle and a quota. Catherine sent letters. Long, sprawling things written on expensive stationery. Oscillating between begging for forgiveness and condemning my cruelty. I burned them unopened. It sounds harsh. I know. People tell you that family is everything. They tell you that forgiveness is divine. They tell you to be the bigger person. But here is the truth I learned in the silence of my tower. Protection without consequence is permission. For decades, I had protected August from his own mediocrity. I had protected my mother from the reality of her son's nature. I thought I was being kind. I thought I was being loyal. I wasn't. I was an accomplice. By cushioning their falls, I had robbed them of the ability to stand. By swallowing their cruelty, I had taught them that I was food. By refusing to be the villain in their story, I had become the victim in my own. Mercy to the wolf is cruelty to the sheep, and I was done sacrificing my own peace to feed their hunger. I stood by the window, looking out at the skyline. The sun was setting, painting the glass canyons in gold and violet. I took a deep breath. The air in my lungs felt different. It felt like ownership. I had built this. I had saved it. And for the first time in my life, I was not waiting for anyone to tell me good job. I checked my watch. 7 in the evening. I had a dinner reservation. Not with family, but with Nora and Violet. We were celebrating the opening of the Miami property. There would be champagne. There would be laughter. And there would be no one at the table who made me feel small. I turned off the lights in my office, leaving the city to glow in the dark. If you have ever had to be the villain in someone else's story just to save your own sanity, share this video and tell me in the comments what was the moment you finally said enough.